I don't have a cameraman. Well, seeing as Summer is refusing to participate this year, we are not going to be doing an outdoor visit today. We are going to stay within the nice, warm, dry confines of the shop. And I'm going to start on a book repair. Now, I remember in an earlier episode I had talked about doing a repair on the H.G. Wells book. It's going to have to wait. I got a job come in on the weekend, actually, to do a repair on a family heirloom book. It's called The People's Home Library. It's not a particularly valuable book. You can find them online for, less than $50 US. But in actuality, it's priceless because of the connection and the history to the family that owns the book, and what it meant to some of their grandparents and people that had come before them here in Alberta. So I'm going to show you how we're going to repair this book, and what it's going to take, and how long it's going to take. And we'll condense it all down and get it on a video and show you what it's all about. Okay, let's get started. Okay, again, I mentioned there's various ways that you can approach a repair, and I'm gonna use the kind of it's very effective. It's a bit cheaper, and I think it works just as well. And I should also make a note for clarity that I am not a conservator. That takes many years of training, university level, and years of practice to be a conservator. I'm just a humble bookbinder and repairer, so I do the best that I can, which is getting pretty good, and they turn out rather well, I'd like to say. I do say so myself. Okay, again, both boards have completely, that's the rear board, that's the spine piece, and the front board, they are completely loose, come off. Here is the text block. I put it in my lying press, which is a very handy device to have when you're working on books like this. So what I'm going to repair this with, we want to make this as solid as we can so that it's a complete book. Look how loose that is. As you can see, it's just in chunks. So we need to make that a good solid piece. Because it's so big, I'm going to use muslin. And we will make a piece that goes along the spine, and we'll glue that up. If that wasn't such a big book, we have other options as well. We have rice paper like this. This is very thick, heavy-duty rice paper. This is very thin rice paper. It comes even thinner than that. You can use the very thin stuff to do page repairs. But oftentimes I will use this somewhere between this and this to reattach a board or a signature or lay in a page. It just depends what you need, and it comes in these packages so they also come in different colors. Lots of times you want to use a lighter color or you want to use a darker color. Just depends what you're working with. So we're going to use muslin for this because we need the strength. It's going to be a very good binding quality. Well, you know what? I'm going to quit talking about it, and we're going to get started on the repair, and we'll take you through it. Okay, here's the book. People's Home Library. Now, these books were fairly popular out in the prairies in Western Canada, all across the U.S., I'm sure into Ontario and the East as well. There weren't a lot of doctors out there. There weren't a lot of veterinarians. There wasn't a lot of anything really, and people relied on these books for recipes, cures for this, cures for that, animal, human, whatever you needed. Hopefully you could find in one of these books, because there was just nobody around or could get to you in time to help you with whatever ailment it was that you were suffering from. Very popular, again, by necessity. Now, I need both hands to kind of do this video, so I'm going to see what we do with the camera. But okay, let's set this down. We'll have a look, see what we're dealing with in terms of the repair. Okay, now when I was holding it up, it looked pretty solid, right? Not bad. But like a lot of these books, this one was very well used. I put the stack over here so that when we open this, it will be protected from any further damage. So as you can see, it's got some serious problems. So the front board and the spine cover have come right off. We'll just set those over there for now. The front signature, that's this, is completely loose. And you can see that these signatures are sewn together. And that's a very common traditional way to put a book together. So each one of these is a signature. Now, if we were going to fix this book completely and right to the nines, we would completely disbound this. We'd take all of that sewing out. We would take each of these signatures out, and we would, in some cases, we would have to guard this edge, which means taking rice paper and strengthening it so that when you put them all back in a stack again, you would have to re-sew the whole thing. And that you need these signatures to be strong enough on the spine edge to be able to do that. That would take a very long time and cost a very lot of money. So what I proposed to the client was that we use a different technique. But before we get completely into that, let's just look inside here. So this is a 3-part book. Membership certificate. Cool, eh? 10/16/1916. So here it is. People's Home Library, Library 3 practical books, medical, recipe, and a home stock book. I'm not even completely sure what that is. This is the Canadian version published in Toronto. I don't know about that publisher. I don't know if there's a relation there or not, but you may want to take some of the stuff you find in this book with a grain of salt. Taking medical advice from a Barnum, well, I don't know. Let's look. What is some of the advice? Accidents and emergencies, what to do, what not to do. Bites of snakes. Suck out the poison, and after cutting the wound open, apply bruised plantain leaves and give a teaspoonful of the juice from the bruised leaf every hour. Oh, goodness. Cut it open, suck out the poison. Turn a bottle of turpentine upside down over the snake bite. Chicken entrails, those are always a good solution. You have to kill the chicken, and while it's warm, cut it open and lay upon the wound, entrails and all, and it will draw out the poison. The physician, though, reminds you that this will draw well, but it had better be applied after the wound has been sucked and cauterized. Yikes. Okay. Let's worry more about putting the book back together than the contents. Okay, you ready? I've got some interesting camera angles we need to use for this, so let's just try this. Ooh, Okay, hopefully you can see that. So first thing we do, we're going to use our wheat paste, which is wheat, starch, and water. We have a ratio of about 6-to-1 tablespoons of water to a tablespoon of wheat paste. Then you microwave it till it's a nice consistency. I don't know if you can actually see that. Yeah, the stuff's a little bit old, but it's good for what we're doing. If we were applying leather, we would make a brand new, spanky, beautiful batch. but we're not. So we'll use this. We take our 10 gram 10 Gojo rice paper. I think you can see just kind of how see-through that is. We're working on paper, so we don't need it very thick at all. So we take that, we place it in the paste that we've laid down here, because you want it soaked right through. And we'll just take and kind of get a little bit of that excess off of there. This is wax paper. So we're going to take my handy dandy tool, and we're going to pick this piece of rice paper very carefully up new, because it just wants to come apart at the seams, because it is so very, very thin. We're going to take it, lay it on this piece of wax paper as flat as we can make it. Okay, so again, here's the section that we're going to repair. We very carefully lined up the 4 edges of the piece we're attaching to the existing signature so that everything lines up. We've got a little bit of a fussy bit right here, so we're actually going to start on that bit, and I don't want to get this in the glue. So what I do is I take and I lay that edge on the piece of rice paper. Make sure that all those parts are flat. Yeah. Okay, I think we've got it. And then what I'm going to do is take this, fold it over, make sure that it's a nice snug fit along the spine edge. We're just going to rub that in a little bit with our fingers. Make sure that it is, reasonably good. Okay, now we have to remove that. So what I do is I flip this over. I'm going to give this edge a little bit of a rub. Make sure that it's nicely attached. I'll even take my handy dandy bone folder and we'll just give that a little convincing. I'm going to do it again on this side. And now, make sure this is nice and dry. We're going to come along and we're going to remove the wax paper and hopefully leave the rice paper in place. Sometimes it wants to come off. It can be very miserable. Oops, yeah, see that? Oh, crap. Okay, let's try from the other side. Maybe we can salvage this. Just a little bit of patience. Oh, sticking. We'll get it off though. Okay. There we go. And then we'll see how we're making out on the other side. It'll be easier to get off again on the other side, I hope. We can come from this way. I want to hold that little bit down, and then this should just kind of nicely peel off. There we go. Okay, so now we're just going to stick this in between 2 of these. and it will not stick to this material. I know that for a fact. And I'm going to put some weights on there because we want that to be a nice, snug, permanent gluing. Okay, we will do the spine bits next. So you can see we did the repair right here on the spine edge, what's called guarding. You can see here. Now these are not invisible repairs. Most often they are not, and I'm always sure to point out to clients that a lot of the repairs that are done will not be invisible. So we now have this complete signature back in one piece, and we will take this and it will go back into our text block, which has been waiting there. So we can't do the text block till this piece was done. Also, we left our, you know what, I'm just gonna set that there so that we don't do anything we shouldn't. So you can see the weights have been on. Ooh. And of course we use, you know what, I'm gonna just set the camera over here. Okay, so let's see how we made out here. We're gonna take our tins out and our wax paper off of the spine edge like this. Yeah, not bad. So we re-glued the this part into the spine bit. Okay, we'll lift that up and just make sure there was no stickies. There were not. Excellent. Okay, so we have a good solid spine, and now we just have to reattach. Where is the other board? Oh no! It's here somewhere, right here. So we will reattach this board to this side of the spine, and then we're going to go about getting the spine block placed in here and fully reattached. Okay, be back. I don't have a cameraman. Okay, we're going to glue this up and get our muslin piece on there and get that all fastened up and dried, and then the next step will be attach it to the boards. Big brush. This is PVA, or sorry, 50-50, which is half methyl cellulate and half PVA. It's a very powerful adhesive, very long lasting, and you have to work rather quickly with it. The reason you make it 50-50 is because if you just use straight PVA, by the time you get one end done, the other end's dry, and yeah, it's just really difficult to work with. Cutting it with the methyl cellulate gives you some time to work with it. Okay, here's our piece. We've all measured it all up. We know it's going to fit, so that we can attach it here. Be as precise as I can with this phase of the operation. Make sure that we've got our flaps sticking out. We've left a little bit of the spine head showing on each end, and then we are gonna some more of this glue on. And this will really solidify that spine. Okay, I'm going to keep gluing. Here's a simple but effective method. We finished using our bone folder to get that muslin worked right into all of the signature ends on the spine. Put a piece of wax paper over that, and then yeah, it's just a knee wrap. Turns out I've got lots of these. So you just, and they're very stretchy and soft. And what we want to do is keep consistent pressure all the way across the spine while the muslin dries and attaches itself to the paper ends of the signatures, and they become one and nice and solid. So we just wrap this around. Okay, I'm going to take my time and do this, but yeah, we'll wrap this up and then we'll let it sit overnight and we'll have a peek at it in the morning. See how we made out. Okay, so I've already done this board and everything's lined up very nicely. So the foredge is perfect. The text block is going to line up at the head of the spine. Part of the trick when you do start gluing is that you have everything you need ready to go. So I've got my brush, I've got my 50-50 glue, see it says right there, and I have my my wheat paste glue ready as well, because I'm going to use two different types of glues. One, I'll use PVA on the muslin, and I will use the paste on the piece of this paste down, I guess we'll call that. Okay, so I'm just gonna carefully move this weight over here because I need that out of the way, and we will apply our 50-50. And I'll be relatively generous with this because this is the most important part. It's going to keep the text block and the boards, everything in one piece, right? Right. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to glue for a second. Okay, all the PVA glue is in place, so we'll take our piece of muslin and we're not going to force anything. We'll just let it fall into where it wants to be. Which is right here. Okay, so that's the muslin all in place. Take the bone folder, just stretch, don't move. Stretch that out a little bit. I'm going to use more PVA on here like this. Soak it in there pretty good. Make sure we got enough at the ends. I think we do. I'm just going to use my finger to make sure we have the glue in where we want it to be. I'll just pull on that a little bit. There we go. That's pretty good. Relatively smooth. Okay. Clean my hands off here. Put a little bit more weight on here because I do not want that moving. Okay, so now I'm going to use my wheat paste on this piece of the paste down. And again, we'll be pretty generous with this. I do not want to get paste on the end papers. So I'll use my piece of wax paper. Like that. There we go. So I'm just going to let that wheat paste soak into that just for a minute. And I'll take my bone folder, make sure it's clean. And I'm just going to gently rub that muslin some more, make sure that it's binding the way we want it to, where we want it to. Okay. Now I'll take my spatula tool, we'll just lay this piece over. Again, I just want it to fall where it wants to fall. This book has been this shape for, you know, over 100 years, so there's no point trying to change that. It wants to resume and keep that shape, so you just work with that. Okay, there it is. Again, we'll just bone folder that so that it's nice and snug. There we go. I have to reattach this piece, but we will do that after because it's just not possible at this point of the process. Okay. I have my tin already so that I can slide that right into where we just did all the gluing so that this part isn't glued to that part, because that would be a nightmare and very embarrassing for me. Okay, so I'm going to take my little piece of that off. Now we do have to be a little bit fussy doing this part. We're going to lift that board up, and I want to make sure that it is in the right place. So I'm just going to take this out for 1 second. It was not in the right place. It wants to come up higher. There we go. We want to be able to see that edge. There and there. I can still excellent. A little of that. A little of this. Oh, a little of this. The weights are very, very important. A little of that. That's coming off of there. And there we go. Now we let it sit. Well, We're just about there. And much like the cooking shows you see on TV where they mix all the ingredients up, put the bowl in the oven, and then, oh, look, they open the oven next door and it's all cooked. We're going to have a little bit of that with this book. But all the pieces are glued in place, and hopefully it's all worked. So we're going to go over and have a look at it right now. Okay, there it is, the last little bit of it. It's been sitting under the weights. We've glued the last piece, so let's pull it apart and see how we did. So we'll take all those weights off. Oh. Okay, stay. So here it is. Of course, we use our tins to keep everything glued to the right spot. So we'll take those out. Oh, geez, I need a camera operator. Okay, we take our, there, how's that? Okay, take this out, and there's our book. These are some exterior repairs. That's the only way you can fix these. This backboard was completely detached. I've used a heavier grade of rice paper on there. And here it is. So, look, we can open it up now. Looks pretty good so far. This is not typically the way you open a new repaired book, but for the purposes of this video, we'll do it this way. So here we are. It's all one piece again. Looks like a pretty good solid book again. Got all of our edges are just about correct. Again, you know, with an older book, it wants to do what it wants to do, and you work with the book. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to see if I can make these a little less obvious, and maybe touch them up with a little bit of color and see how that works out. Well, the book's all done, and Dorothy is here to pick up her finished copy of the book, and well, here, we'll see what she thinks. Well, Dorothy, thank you very much for bringing that in, and there it is.
So excited. Really am.
So we reattached all the boards, and reattached this piece, which was loose.
Oh, it looks great.
Did some work on the interior of the spine. So it's loose the way it should be, okay. Because we didn't want to, you know.
I still want to be able to flip through it.
Well, yeah. And the book is old enough that it has the shape it wants now. So,
that's great.
Yeah, and so we had to do the exterior repairs on there, which you can see, but I painted them so they kind of fit a little better than, and so this back one I used thicker repair material, so that should be rock solid for as long as you need it to be. This one I used a little bit lighter, so if you have any issues with it, if it cracks or anything, just bring it in. We'll do it again. I could use some heavy material, but I thought, we'll try the light stuff first. So
that's great.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I hope you enjoyed going through the process of repairing that book. I was quite pleased with the way that turned out, and thankfully so was Dorothy. I think she's going to bring me another one to repair, as a matter of fact. And if you have one that needs repairing, bring it in. We can have a look at it, see what's involved, and take it from there. That's it for this episode of Bailey the Bookman. We'll see you on the next one.